My name is Tracy Matson, and I'm a certified professional dog trainer and certified behavior consultant canine. And I'm really excited to be here tonight and answer all of your training questions. Just a few housekeeping rules. If this is your first time, please give me your name and state or country where you're from. A lot of it just comes up as Facebook user, so I can't see who it is. And we'll do a drawing either at the end of the live or around 7. So I want to make sure and get everybody entered. And I'm looking for my pen. There it is. So I will be taking names down and then we will do a drawing. So make sure you give me your name and where you're from. Hello, Travis. We have missed you the past couple of weeks. And Travis, if I remember, you're from Canada, right? Because I think I already have a paper for you. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay. So far, you're the only one here. So let me know if you have any questions. Let's see, what topic? I usually try to pick a topic to talk about while I am waiting for people to jump on. Oh, hello, Nicole and Brian. Now we got people coming on. Brian and Renee. Okay. Okay, while we're waiting for some other people to get some questions, let's talk about splitting. So what splitting means is taking a behavior that maybe is too difficult for a dog and breaking it down into smaller and smaller steps. So yesterday I was working with a rescue dog that would attack and bite the husband if the husband went to show any kind of affection towards his wife. That can be a real bummer in a marriage. So I'm trying to get that glare out. So what we did is we did the look at that exercise. And instead of having the husband like walk up and put his arm around the wife, we first of all, we had the dog on a leash at a safe distance. And then I had the husband like just raise up his arm, put it back down, touch wife's shoulder, put it back down. And we may do this several times before we move on to the next one. Then like reach up, maybe put arm around back a little bit, and then down. So we did it in little micro steps. We also did this with, hey, you guys, let me write down Willow and Julie. We also did this with the same dog. Oh, Willow, congratulations. 96, that's awesome. Julie. Oh, whoops. Julie, I just about put that you were from Oklahoma. Karen. Andrea. You guys, I'm sorry that I'm chewing gum. I will spit it out in a second. So I'm trying to do that. This has nothing to do with dog training, but I'm doing that intermittent fasting thing where you only eat between the hours of like 10 and 6, and then nothing before, nothing after. And since I've been working and didn't have time to eat, and now it's 6 o'clock, I'm just chewing gum to like for the sugar, so that I don't get hungry. Okay, so Andrea, this is a really good thing to teach with splitting, which is what we were talking about. So you take the whole behavior and split it into little tiny groups. So with a cot and teaching place, this is what it would look like. You bring the cot out, and if Maru just looks at the cot, sniffs the cot, you can mark and treat. So mark is either a click or say yes, and toss the treat on the bed. I always like to reward on the bed so that the dog learns that that's where the good stuff happens, is on the bed. And then after a bit, they look at it, they sniff it. If they step on it themselves, you can definitely mark and treat for that. And then I always release after each one. So let's say the dog steps on it with one foot. Then you would mark and treat, and then release. So I like throw a treat away from the bed and say free, and then the dog can leave. And then I want to see if the dog goes back to the place on their own, because that's where the treats have been happening. If it does, I click and treat. If it doesn't, sometimes I'll lure the dog back on the bed, and as soon as a paw touches the bed, I click and treat. So you can either toss a treat on the cot or you can lure your dog on the cot. And then again, throw a treat away and, say free, and then the dog can go get the treat. Once your dog is kind of coming back to the bed or the place on their own, because we've done this repetition and they've been getting rewarded on the cot, then you can start to name it. So you might toss a treat on the bed or wait for your dog to like willingly go over to the bed on their own. And then you can say like, go to your place, or you can lure, and then start naming it. So then I would like give the cue. Either the dog does it on their own or you lure them, and then mark, treat, and then release. Once the dog is willingly going and then kind of chilling on their own, like going to the cot and laying down. And I teach this two different ways, depending on if I'm doing a relaxation protocol with the intent of teaching a dog how to relax, then I don't cue a sit or a down. I want the dog to actually do it on their own. But if I'm just teaching a place, then yes, once the dog gets on, then you can cue them into a down, mark and treat, and then you just work on duration that the dog stays on the cot, distance where you start moving away. So it's kind of like after you get the dog on the cot and in a down stay, then you kind of work on it like you would stay, where you increase distractions, distance, duration. So does that make sense? That's a perfect example of splitting, where you just break it down and, first the dog just looks at the bed or sniffs it or walks over to it. Like any interaction at all, you can mark and treat. And after you've done that a few times, you might say, oh, you got to give me a little bit more. What else can you do? And I'll just kind of wait for the dog to experiment and maybe step on the bed. Again, if they don't show any interest, then I might lure them or toss a treat on the bed, so that they step on the bed to get the treat, and then I mark and treat right when they step on the bed. So that is a great question. Willow, I quit McDonald's and have a job at Casey's, and I think Camp Bow Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Congrats. I thought that Camp Bow Wow was just a Utah thing, but apparently that's from all over. Okay. Travis. I was watching TV last night and was eating cheese and crackers, and guess who was there with her puppy eyes and eventually whining at me to give her some? Yes, I feel your pain. That happens to me every single time I sit down with food. I ignored her. Good job. And then she started to bark at me to give her some, and I ignored these things, but I felt bad because she was drooling the whole time. I taught her under at the table for service dog and gave her some food while training that cue while I eat. Yeah, so I am the worst offender of this because I've created 3 little monsters that like to beg, but it's because I feed them from my plate. So one thing that you could do is if you don't want your dog to do that, and you feel bad because they're whining, ask them to do something else, like do a downstay. And then when your dog is in a down and staying calm, you can intermittently reward them from your plate for that behavior, but not for the whining or barking. So I do exactly the same thing with Jade that you did at the restaurant. So she either goes under the table or lays by the table. And as long as she's being calm, I will intermittently reward her from my plate. Nobody else is allowed to give her food at a restaurant but me, and she has to be calm. So if she's not calm, then I'll put her back in a downstay or a settle position and wait for her to be calm, and then I reward her. But yes, if they're whining or barking or doing anything like that, then I ignore, or I will redirect them to do something else. So, like a downstay. Or you could go to your mat or go to your place, and then when you're done eating, then you can reward your dog for staying in that spot. Or again, you can intermittently reinforce the duration of remaining in at a place or a downstairs, whatever you do. My dad is really bad at giving her food when he's eating. Yes. So for 2 years, my cousin and his son lived with me, and they were terrible about feeding the dogs from their plate. But I mean, I did it too, so I couldn't say anything. However, when we went to restaurants and Jade had her vest on, they would still feed her from the table. And so she started learning bad habits, thinking, oh, I go to restaurants and I get fed from the table. So I had to kind of ban them from going with me so that I could train. And or if we did go, I just set explicit rules like, do not give her any food. You can leave some on your plate, and then at the end, I will give it to her, because I don't want her to learn to beg from other people, if that makes sense. And sometimes we have to ask our parents to help with training. So yeah, if your dad is bad at giving her food, then she's going to keep doing it because sometimes it works. Like sometimes she actually gets fed from someone's plate, and so it reinforces that behavior. So how can I reward her for good behavior if I ignore her? Yeah, exactly. Wait for her to be quiet, or again, ask her for a settle or a downstay. So you're not really kind of ignoring at that point. If you can catch a break where she's quiet and not actively barking and whining, you could mark and reward that. But I think the better way to do it is if she's barking and whining, you can interrupt and say, oh, we don't do that while we're eating. Give me a down, stay, and then intermittently reward her for that. So at first you're going to ignore, but then remember that we have to teach the dogs what we want them to do instead. So you ignore and then put her in a settle and then reward that intermittently as long as she stays settled. And at first, I reward a lot. I have a high rate of reinforcement just because, the dog's learning, and it's super hard to do a downstay at a restaurant with lots of food and people and everything. But now I'll reward Jade like every 15 minutes that she can stay in a settle. And then eventually she has to do an hour. So, yeah. So I would ignore and then redirect and then reward the good behavior that you want. Yeah, perfect. Renee, when we're eating, Peyton goes and lies down. Yeah, sometimes, don't really bark or whine, but they'll just sit there and stare at me. However, if I just ignore them, like say, if I'm eating something that's hot, I know it's going to burn their mouth, so I'm not going to give it to them. And if I just ignore them, eventually, like they just go and lay down. And they're like, well, she's not going to give me anything anyway. So they go lay down and don't worry about it. So, and again, yeah, Renee, I didn't really train them to do that. I just kind of ignored them. And eventually they just went and laid down because they knew that I wasn't going to give them any. Brian, whenever we go to the food barrel, Peyton goes to her place. Awesome. We never taught her that also while we are eating. Yeah, that is amazing. And, dogs are really smart. And sometimes they just pick up on different things. And like I said, I'm the worst offender because since I live alone, I feed my dogs from my plate. I usually, especially like when I'm eating yogurt, I will eat the yogurt and then I'll let the dogs lick the yogurt out of the container, and they each get a turn. So one will lick for like 5 seconds and then the other. So they all get a turn like licking. But yeah, I don't do it as much now. I will still do it at home, but then when Jade has her vest on and we're in public, then no, I will intermittently reward her with something. So like if I get salad, I'll, instead of saying like hold the croutons, I'll keep the croutons for Jade. And then intermittently reward her with croutons for Settle. And she's, finally getting it. And half the time I'll look down to give her one and has her head down and is partially asleep. So then I just let her settle. Great questions though. Let me go back and see if I missed any. Let's see. Travis, by the way, I find mental stimulation via puzzles and lick mats tire them out. Yes, absolutely. Better than physical exercise. I 100% agree. I always have to explain to clients what enrichment is and why it's so important. And when I tell them that it's just as important as physical exercise, sometimes you can do this, especially when people have really reactive dogs and they don't like to take their dogs on walks because they're embarrassed or they can't control their dog or whatever. Then it's really good to give the dog some mental enrichment at home to help tire them out. The dog that I was working with yesterday, we did a snuffle mat and a lick mat, and the dog did not care that I was a stranger and was there. Um, we do like look at that. We do like that exercise while the dog has the snuffle mat and lick mat, and he didn't even look up. He didn't even look. He didn't even care that I was there, that I was moving around. He was like totally into that lick mat. And yes, it does tire them out. When we go to restaurants, a lot of times, so right now, Jade can have one chew item that has to last an hour. So I will sometimes, I do turbo tendons, but sometimes I'll do a lick mat that I have frozen, and I just let her lick. When Maddie has acupuncture, we do the same thing where I'll get frozen baby food and just let her lick it out of the jar while they're doing the needles, because it helps to relax her, it helps soothe them. So yes, that is great. And Travis, when you say especially around other dogs, that is so true. Because one of the things that we do with reactive dogs is if, like, let's say we're walking and we see another dog and we know that this dog is reactive. So I'm thinking of, well, I do this with all the dogs, but one in particular is very reactive towards people, dogs, bikes, skateboards, motorcycles, anything pretty much that moves. So if we see one coming, we step off the trail, we scatter feed and tell the dog, go hunt. And then the dog starts like engaging her nose and hunting for the treats in whatever we threw it in: grass, weeds, dirt, bark, it doesn't matter. And she might occasionally look up and say, like, oh, there's a bike, I'm going to go back to this. Oh, there's a skateboard, I'm going to go back and hunt. So yes, it is such a good way to redirect the dog and get them doing something enriching. So really two things are happening. Number one, you're redirecting to something else that the dog can do other than reacting, but you're also pairing that fun activity of mental stimulation with the scary thing. So then to the dog, it's like, oh, when I see a scary person, I get to go hunt. Or when I see a bike, I don't like bikes, I get to go hunt. That's usually what we do on trails because we don't take lick mats with us. But yes, you could definitely use a lick mat. So yeah, great observation. That is so true. Yeah, it's a different story when I make pasta. Yeah, my dogs, I don't cook, guys. I'll just be honest. I hate cooking, and it's just me. So, the most cooking I do is ramen noodles in a microwave. I do know how to crock pot a few things, and I can make spaghetti, and I do that like twice a year. So, yeah, my dogs will beg if I'm actually doing something that they know is not a normal thing for their mom, and they'll be sitting in there. But, as long as they're not jumping up on the counter or counter surfing or anything like that, as long as they sit or lay down quietly, when I'm done with whatever it is I'm doing, then I will reward them and I will give them a piece of whatever I'm doing just because they didn't counter surf. They didn't try to jump up. They didn't try to get anything that wasn't theirs. So, yeah, I do that too. Julie, how do I get Dakota to calm down before I let her out of her crate? That's a good question. I mean, you could give Dakota a lick mat or something that she can do while she's in her mat or while she's in her crate. The other thing you can do is do a wait cue. So the same thing we do with food or at the door. So if you say, like, Dakota, wait, and then start to open the door. If she's whining or pushing or otherwise overly stimulated, then the door closes. And you wait for her to be calm and give her an actual cue of wait. And then as long as she waits, then you can open the door and then mark and say, okay, let's go. And then she can get out. If she tries to rush the door or whines or barks, then you simply close the door. So she learns, if I don't wait, I don't get out. But if I'm calm and I wait, then mom opens the door and I get out faster. So it just goes back to that pre-MAC principle, where a dog is more likely to do something that they don't really want to do because it will lead to something good that they do want to do, which is getting out of the crate. So I practice that with Jade in the car, especially, I mean, sometimes she rides up with me, but sometimes she's in her crate in the back. So when I go to open, I'll tell her wait, because I have to open, put her leash on, put her vest on, and then I say, let's go. And then her reward is actually that she gets to jump out and go with me wherever I'm going. So you don't really have to treat. You can if you want, but usually that's the reward, is they get to come out. If she doesn't wait, then I just close the door and I wait for her to calm down and then start to open again. Now she stand up and come out a little bit because it's easier for me to get the vest and stuff on her. But she waits right there until I release her to come out. So I would just keep practicing that wait, practicing that impulse control. And if Dakota doesn't know a wait cue, I would start it with like wait at the door. So wait at the door before you go out for a walk. Sit and wait while I put your leash on. Wait in the car while I open the door before I release you to jump out, so that she learns what that wait is, and then you can transfer that over to the crate. Travis, speaking of reactivity, Mickey is leash reactive. So whenever she encounters a dog, when she and the other dog are on leash, she will lash out regardless of whom is on leash. So that can be really typical, because when dogs are on leash, they feel kind of more restricted and we take away their flight options. So let's say if Mickey is afraid of other dogs or is unsure about other dogs, or it's like a situation where she feels threatened, then if she's on leash, she can't move away. So she can't do anything. So she's reverting to, fight or react. So there's a couple of things you can do. First, once you see another dog and you know that she's going to do that, I would step off, maybe teach Mickey a come front, which basically is like, come sit in front of me, look at me, and I'm going to fast feed you treats or baby food from the pouch. And just keep her attention on you while another dog passes. You can also do the go hunt. So you see another dog, you step off, and you have Mickey go hunt. So throw treats, scatter feed, and get her interested in using her nose and working for the food, and get her mind off the dog. Every time, if she looks up and sees the dog and is calm, then you can mark and treat and throw another treat down. So every time she looks and is calm, more treats come down into this pile that she's searching for. Does that make sense? And then there's other things you can do as well, but that's like the simplest, is kind of the look at that, where you get her off, you move her away from the trigger and give her something else to do, which is either scatter feed or focus on me and I will reward you. And I usually talk to the dog like, oh, yep, there's a dog walking by, just pay attention right here and I'll keep giving you treats. Oh, you're such a good dog. Good job. Look how brave you are. And I fast talk to keep the dogs engaged and focused on me. Now, you do have to have really high value treats for this, because the treats have to be better than, oh my gosh, there's a dog. So if you're just using milk bones, the dog's probably going to be like, just milk bones. I'd rather bark at this dog. Because by reacting, it's reinforcing the dog. So the dog is like, if I bark, I can make another dog go away. Or, I feel threatened, so I'm going to bark and try to make myself look really big so this dog, leaves me alone. So we always want to try to redirect that and then give the dog something else to do. So, hopefully that helps. I do a whole 6-week class on reactive dog. So we work a lot on relaxation. We work on enrichment, scatter feeding, getting our dog's attention, getting them to just look at a stressor and then disengage and look at us, things like that. Okay, Vivian, I will come back and answer yours, because since I'm on Travis's topic, I'm going to just finish answering this. Yes, soft classical music can calm them. There's a CD called Through a Dog's Ear, and it was specially made to calm dogs. And it's pretty much just classical piano. There have been studies on music that calms dogs, and whole orchestras that are playing really fast and loud, that actually doesn't calm dogs. But the softer classical music with just, 1 or 2 instruments works. Dogs don't like heavy metal or really hard rock. But the one that I found interesting was reggae. Dogs relax to reggae. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because it has a predictable beat or the same beat, but reggae also calms them. Okay, now I'll go back to Vivian. My male puppy is 6 months and today started lifting his leg to mark. Is this normal, or should I try and discourage the behavior? It's normal. If he's marking outside, then that's fine. That's what dogs do. If he's marking in the house, then yes, I would discourage that. And I would just interrupt, hey, we don't do that in the house. What are you doing? And then take him outside and see if he needs to go to the bathroom. If he doesn't, then just bring him in. If he does go outside, I would reward him for going outside. But yeah, it is a normal thing for them to start marking. However, it's not okay to mark in the house. So you want to interrupt and redirect. Oh, Julie. Yep, Travis just answered it perfectly. The way that I remember it is wait is wait a second and then you get something. So wait for your food and then you get it. Wait at the door and then you get to go out. Wait in your crate while I open the door and then you get to come out. Stay is longer. So I think of stay put. So think of wait a second or stay put. So if I'm getting something out of the car, but the dogs aren't coming with me or getting out, I use stay. So they know, yep, I'm staying here. I'm not getting out, so I might as well relax. If I'm going out the door and the dogs aren't coming with me, I say stay so that they don't try to rush the door. And then right before I close the door, I'll release them because I don't want to set them up to fail. And I know that my dogs are not going to stay in that position while I'm gone for however long I'm gone. So I'll tell them stay. And then right before I close the door, I'll say, okay, free. Good job. See you guys later. So that's how I remember it. So with food, it's wait for your food and then you get it. Whereas leave it is you don't ever get it, but you get something better. I know some trainers teach that differently, but I do like to distinguish between wait and leave it, and then wait and stay. So yes, Travis is correct. Wait is just think of wait a second and then they get it. Whereas stay is longer. So again, I'll use stay if the dog's not getting out of the car or isn't coming with me, or if we're in a restaurant and I want Jade to stay put for an hour, then I'll do a stay. Anita. Hi, Anita. Let me write Anita down. Oh, Nicole, nice job. I've been playing through A Dog's Ear for Fireworks all week in preparation. Perfect. From Florida. Okay. Yeah, I have one upstairs. Actually, when I rescued Hallie, my Michael Vick dog, one of my friends sent me that CD in the mail, and good. So I'll play that during fireworks, thunderstorms, things like that. Up where I live, and I mean, it's probably like this in the city too. And in Utah, we have Pioneer Day, which is July 24th. So we actually, through the whole month of July, we have rodeos, fireworks, things like that. So for both holidays. So I always try to do something calming, and I try to be home. A lot of my friends have like 4th of July parties. They all come, we play music, sit around, but a lot of times I don't go. Like this year, I'm not going because I have a puppy board and training with me, and I want to make sure that the puppy does okay through the fireworks. So we'll be doing that sound desensitization initially, but then I still want to be home to make sure that everything goes okay and that the pup is okay. So yes, having dogs makes it so I have no social life, but I can still go play with them other times. I just don't do it on holidays. There is a training protocol that goes with it that we did a few months ago. Yeah. I've never seen the training protocol, but it's probably a lot like the relaxation one that I do. Let's see, Nicole. For me, I also differentiate by allowing position changes during wait, so they can sit, stand, or down. But stay, they are to stay in that position. Yes, that's a good point. With stay, I want them to stay in the position that I have them staying at. So, like if a vet is trying to do a checkup, I might do a stand stay, which means you stay standing up until I release you. If we're at a restaurant, I want Jay to do a down stay and stay in that down. So, yeah, good point. That does mean that they stay in that position until you release them. Yeah, well, you guys kind of are my social life, because other than seeing clients through the week, I don't go out. And I'm a kind of introvert when I'm not working. So I like to just kind of be home with my dogs and chill. And this is probably the most social I am all week long. So that's because I love you guys, and hanging out with you and doing this is rewarding for me, and it's fun. So yeah, I mean, you guys kind of are my social life. Anita, our dog ignores fireworks completely. Yeah, that's good. I mean, my dogs now are fine with them. They might go out and bark, but usually I'll keep them in and just turn a movie on or something like that. And then I just hang out with them. Karen, I'm having Alana do a downstay during this live chat. Awesome. And if you're starting out, a really good starting goal would be doing a downstay for 1 minute while you brush your teeth. And you can work up to that if your dog doesn't have a good stay yet. But 1 minute while you brush your teeth. Then you could do a 3-minute downstay while you cook ramen noodles. How do I know that? Because I eat ramen noodles every once in a while. And in the microwave, it's 3 minutes. So you can do a downstay for 3 minutes. And then work up to other things. So, yeah, that's awesome. And depending on how long our live chats go, she may be staying a little bit longer. I'm going to turn my ceiling fan on for a second because it's getting hot. It's hot and it's kind of overcast, which makes it kind of hot, muggy. Okay, let me go back and see if I missed any. I'm happy that you guys come out to these, especially during the summer when it's nice out. And you could be outside. I almost did this live outside because it is a little hot right now. But the weather's nice. And the only reason I didn't do it outside is because my computer didn't have a full battery and I knew I'd run out of battery. Okay. Karen, we've been working on longer and longer stay. Good job. Nicole, I practice stays by picking a song and dancing around the dog till the song is done. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And yes, what proofing is then doing it in different environments. Different places, different distractions, different environments, and like proofing that behavior in a lot of different scenarios. So that's great. If I turned on music and danced around, I don't know if my dogs would stay. They get really excited and then they want to jump and play and things like that. But Renee and Brian are both outside. Yeah, I kind of wish I was, but I knew my computer would die. I have a friend that used to play in a reggae band, so we'd go listen to him every once in a while. And it's funny because I can't understand a word they say, but it's cool. But yeah, there's something about reggae that is very calming to dogs. So go figure. Okay. If we don't have any other questions, we can do a drawing. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any. Oh, Brian, I can't believe you're sitting next to each other and you didn't know that each other posted. Yeah, both at the same time you guys posted, we were outside. Brian says we have a breeze and Renee talked about reggae. That is funny. Nicole, I also did it with a steak laying between the two on the floor. Wow. Now that is impressive. I've had dogs where I've done that, like left food and put them in a stay and a leave it and left the room and came back and they left it. However, one time I left the room and I forgot to tell Maddie, leave it or stay. And when I came back, the food was gone. So it was my own fault because I didn't tell her what I wanted her to do. And she took the food right from off the counter. So I kind of learned my lesson that I should have cued her. But that's really impressive to do it with a steak laying between the two on the floor. I'm not sure I could do that just because Jade resource guards. And even if all the dogs are in a stay, if one even like shifts from one hip to the other, if she thinks somebody's going to get food and she's not, then it can sometimes cause her to react. So I have to be careful with food around her. Okay, you guys want to do a drawing? Oh, Renee, do you know a way to keep gnats off a dog? I don't. I would ask your vet only because there's probably things like citronella that gnats and mosquitoes don't like, but I know that dogs don't really like the smell of citronella either. Might be some kind of, the monthly like flea and tick and heartworm medication that you give your dogs. There might be something that you can give dogs to keep gnats off, but other than that, I don't know of anything. Okay, let me mix up my names and then we'll do a drawing. And if there's any other questions after that, then I'm happy to stay on and answer questions. If not, I'll probably head outside with my dogs and read. If you guys want to know a couple really good books that I'm reading, there's a behaviorist by the name of Mark Beckhoff, and he has two really good books. One's called Unleashed, and the one right now that I'm reading, I can't remember the name. Let me look up the name really quick. But these go along with some of the other things that classes that I've taken about just, domestication and how we've selected for certain traits. Karen, Wondercide for insect repellent. That's awesome. I've never heard of that. I'll have to look that up. We don't really get anything except for mosquitoes. Anyway, he writes this from the perspective of what if humans didn't exist, would dogs survive? And then what would dogs be like when we're not like selectively breeding them for certain traits? So he talks about like what dogs were like before we started domesticating them, and then what it would probably be like for dogs if there were no humans left. So let me tell you the name. A Dog's World. It's by Jessica Pierce and Mark Beckhoff. And Mark is M-A-R-C and B-E-K-O-F-F. So that one's really good. And then also his book, Unleashed. Karen, I'm going to write that down. Wondercide. I'm assuming you can get it from Amazon. You can get anything from Amazon. Okay. So tonight's winner is Anita Solomon from Florida. So congratulations, Anita. You're going to email hello@pupford.com and let them know what kind of training treats you want. And I will email them as well, and then they will send those out to you. Just turning off my iPad to save my batteries. I've been taking this really cool class. It's on forensic aggression, and it's from a former law enforcement officer who now investigates, like dog bites, dog fight, dogs that have been involved in dog fighting, things like that. So anything that could go to trial. And it's been really cool. In fact, last night I stayed up till it was like 11 or midnight. And I love the guy that's doing it talks really slow, so it's easy to take notes and keep up with him. But yeah, that's why, and I take notes on my iPad, so I try to conserve my battery when I can. Let's see. Oh, Anita, is that insect repellent for dogs or people? I'm not sure. You could probably Google it, or if Karen is still on, Karen could answer. If not, I would just Google it and see if it says for dogs or people. So, all right. Thanks, you guys, for joining. We will see you next week. I will post. Oh, Karen. Yeah, she uses it for both. And if it's all natural, it probably would not be harmful to your dogs. If you're worried, I would just ask your vet first if it's okay to use. But if it's all natural, it's probably fine. So about Monday, Tuesday, I will post when our live is going to be. Monday and Tuesday, I'll actually be at Pupford filming some videos. So our live might actually be on Thursday next week, but I will let everybody know. Anita, I use Avon for people. Yeah. I didn't even know. Are there still Avon people that go around to the homes? I remember as a kid, the Avon lady used to come to our house. But I don't think we have anybody up where I live that even sells Avon. I totally forgot about them. Okay. So thanks again, you guys, and have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.